Hey mom, can we have Exodia contagion for dinner? No, we have Exodia contagion at home. Here's the Exodia contagion at home. Yeah. So, this is the gimmick for the INCARNON ACK BRUNT. If you do slide attacks, you launch a little projectile that explodes. And if you jump in the air and do melees in the air, you launch a little projectile that explodes. Now, as you can see here, unfortunately, the damage from this thing is completely laughable. Like, absolutely negligent. It's a big fat nothing. And I'm doing this with, like, I have a condition overload build. I've built up to 12 combo. All of that jazz. Strong modded weapon. And this just, it does nothing. It does nothing. And, you can probably, like, kill some things on the star chart with this. But if you're at the point where you're farming for INCARNON adapters and you're gonna make, like, an INCARNON melee weapon, then you probably don't want stuff that you can use to just kill star chart enemies. So, that is the gimmick for the INCARNON ACK BRUNT. That is the new sort of like functionality you get from it. So if that's what you're after, then you're gonna be very, very disappointed with this INCARNON. So that's probably not gonna be a thing, right? No one is actually gonna like work this into their builds. So the question then would be like, what are the uses, right? Why would you get the INCARNON ACK BRUNT? What could it be good for? And what I'm gonna tell you right away is that when you pick what sort of INCARNON weapon you should go for this week among the choices, I'm gonna say that you should not pick the INCARNON ACK BRUNT. It's sort of a bust. In all regards, except for one. Except if you play Gara. If you play Gara, you should pick the INCARNON ACK BRUNT, because the INCARNON ACK BRUNT happens to be the best in-slot weapon for Gara to use as a stat stick. The meta, the best in-slot pick that people like pretty much assume that Gara has for her stat stick is the Jaw Sword. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that the ACK BRUNT is in fact even better. But first, let's take a peek at the different sort of picks you can get for the INCARNON weapon. And I'm gonna explain why this is sort of like a letdown in a lot of ways, and why none of it really works the way you would want it to. So the first evolution, that's just the INCARNON form. Like all other melee weapons, you have to reach 6x combo and then throw a heavy attack, and then you transform it into the INCARNON form. And the INCARNON form gets 100% increased melee damage, 20% increased sprint speed, and 20% to bullet jump, which are nice. The second form is where it gets interesting for Gara, and we're gonna come back to this one. There is one called Shield Maiden's Rush. It increases the damage by 150, so that's also nice. And then on Shield Break, you get increased combo count chance while blocking. And this is the one we are going to pick, but I'm going to come back to why we're picking this. The other one, called Templar's Wrath, increases damage by 150, that one too. And then it has the condition, if you have armor above 450, then you get 70% heavy attack efficiency. So, when it comes to the actual condition, you might think that you have to run with a Warframe that has like really, really high base armor, or that you have to slot some armor mods into your Warframe to be able to meet this condition. It's easier than that, and you can actually do it pretty easily with Archon Shards. So 2 blue Archon Shards can give you plus 300 armor, and depending on what base armor you have for most Warframes, that's gonna be enough. You're gonna be able to get up to 450 armor, and then you're gonna be able to get that heavy attack efficiency. Now, if you want to build for heavy attacks, it's nice if you are able to do the combo version of heavy attack builds. See, there are two ways of building heavy attack weapons. Either you build it so that you stack initial combo with Corrupt Charge, because heavy attacks scale with your combo, right? So with this one, you're always going to be at 2x combo. It's going to be like an increase to your damage, which is nice. And then you just spam your heavy attacks all the time. Or if you want to make a stronger version of a heavy attack build, you build it for combo heavy attack efficiency. So heavy attack efficiency means that you don't lose as much of your combo when you use a heavy attack. Normally when you throw a heavy attack you lose all of your combo. You can stack heavy attack efficiency all the way up to 90% at the maximum. And if you have 90% heavy attack efficiency, that means you only lose 10% of your collected combo when you use a heavy attack. So if you are up at like 12 combo and you throw a heavy attack, you're only gonna go down to like 10 combo or 11 combo, and you're very quickly going to be able to build yourself back up to 12 again. That means you can take advantage of things like Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds to give yourself like several 100% status chance and crit chance, and you're going to be able to build up like really strong heavy attacks. Typically, if you want to build for 90% efficiency, you're going to be using two mods. You're going to be using Focus Energy for heavy attack efficiency and Reflex Coil for heavy attack efficiency. So those two together will give you 90%. So with this buff, or with this Incarnon form, you only have to use one of them. You can go with just Focus Energy and the Incarnon form, and then you can get to 90% efficiency, which frees up a mod slot. Now, freeing up a mod slot, is that good enough to make the ACK BRUNT a good pick for a heavy attack weapon? Unfortunately, I'm going to say no. And the reason for that is because certain weapon types in Warframe have innate advantages over others when it comes to heavy attacks. Some weapon types have forced slash procs on heavy attacks, and some don't. Scythes, glaives, two-handed nikanas, and a couple of other weapon types. These are what you're going to be gravitating towards, because whenever you do a heavy attack, you also do a forced slash proc. ACK BRUNT is a sword and shield. It does not have forced slash procs, which means you're not going to get a guaranteed slash proc on every heavy attack that you throw. What you have to do instead is you have to build for a very high slash weight, which it does have. It is mainly slash damage as it is, so most of your status procs are going to be slash procs, but they're not going to be guaranteed. And then you're going to have to try to stack your status chance as high as possible, so that you always do like a couple of slash procs, right? But you're not going to, but you're going to do that anyway. You're going to stack slash damage anyway and have high status chance anyway with all of these other weapons, like the glaives, like the two-handed nikanas, but then you're also going to get the forced slash procs, so you're just going to get more damage. Now, with the third evolution, for the Incarnon ACK BRUNT, you can increase status chance, which is nice. Crit chance and status chance. But it's still gonna get outclassed by any weapon that has forced slash procs on heavy attacks. So at the end of the day, it's gonna be a fine heavy attack weapon, but it's not gonna be a great heavy attack weapon, even in its Incarnon form. The increases to its base damage, plus 100% melee damage, plus 150 damage, plus status chance, plus crit chance, it's going to be nice, but it's still going to get outclassed by the forced slash procs of certain other weapons. It just cannot compete with that. So now we're looking at a situation where it's not as good as it needs to be as a heavy attack weapon, and as a normal condition overload weapon, the gimmick of the spectral axis that you throw just doesn't no damage at all, so it doesn't really put it over the edge. It's just the increased stats that you get from the Incarnon form, but there are other weapons, other Incarnon melee weapons that are going to be better than the ACK BRUNT anyway. But then we come to the actual value of the weapon, and that is as a stat stick for Gara. For those of you who don't know how Gara works, most of you pretty much think that she's the defense frame who can slam down like a big glass wall that can be used to protect defense objectives and can be used to protect other things, and it looks cool and it's rad. Yeah, that's what she can do. However, for endgame builds, Gara also has a combination of abilities that gives her infinitely scaling damage, and it works like this. Gara has a number 2 ability, Shattered Lash. You cast it on herself, you get 90% damage reduction if you have enough ability strength, And also you have a little number there in the bottom right corner showing damage. That is AoE damage. Anyone who gets close to you gets hit by the cloud of shattered glass flying around you, and they take a bit of damage. Not a whole lot of damage. However, if you cast her number 1 ability at her glass wall, it's going to explode, it's going to turn into glass, and all of that shrapnel is going to get added to your cloud of glass around you. It looks like this. As you can see, that number in the bottom right, it increased from 387 to like 13,000. Now anything that gets close to me takes like 13,000 damage. What's also good about the glass wall is that it refreshes the duration on your number 2. There, went back up to 35 seconds, which means that you don't lose out on it. So you have to keep on doing this. And build up your damage. Oh, look at that. Now it's 28. And then when you're about to run out, you unfortunately cannot recast your 2 while it's active. So instead, you cast your number 4. There we go. Reset the duration. And explode it. Now, your number 1 ability can be either cast with a tap or with a hold. If you cast it as a tap, you shoot a glass dart forward. Pew! And it scales off of impact damage. If you instead hold to cast, you do a sweep, like so, and that scales with slash damage. So, since you want to build this for slash damage, and the Ack Brunt is slash damage, you have to always cast your number 1 with a hold and not a tap. Otherwise, you're not going to build up damage as fast. This is where the stat stick comes in, because there are a bunch of different things that make the damage from the cloud around you scale faster. It scales with the mods on your melee weapon, specifically damage, elemental damage, physical damage, and things that correlate with combo. So when you build a stat stick, this is what you want. You want melee damage, you want elemental damage. In fact, we're going to need some more damage on this, so we're going to put in there, Spoiled Strike for even more base melee damage. This is kind of what you want Gara stat sticks to look like, because they're Shattered Lash, it has 0% crit chance, 0% status chance. You just want damage, raw damage, toxin damage, cold damage, toxin damage, heat damage, slash damage. Now typically you want the 90% mods. I had to throw these in, the 60-60 mods, just because I wanted to fit everything in these other builds as well, so I could show them off. So I had to put some of the wrong mod polarities in here. You prefer to have some more Naramon polarities, so you can fit like Molten Impact, just to ramp up elemental damage a bit more. What already makes the Ack Brunt very good here is 2 things. Number 1, it has a maxed out Riven disposition, so if you have a Riven mod for it, then you're going to be able to really increase the things that are useful for a stat stick. That is also the reason why people use the Jaw Sword, typically, for Gara, because that one also has a maxed out Riven disposition. The other thing you want is that you want the weapon to mainly do slash damage, which is what the Ack Brunt does. But Gara has a problem here, and that is, like I said, this damage scales with combo. Now the problem here is, if you want to build combo, well, then you have to get close to the enemies, and then you have to hit them with your melee weapon. But if you activate your number 2, you go in here, you activate your number 4, you smash it, so you get your 20,000 damage in here. Now, 20,000 isn't the most. As you can see, you're doing damage, but it's not like the most damage you could be doing, so you want to like ramp this up a bit. Now we're up to 40,000 damage. Now we're up to 60,000 damage, and now when you stand close to enemies, they're gonna start taking more damage. These are corrupted heavy gunners, level 190, so they're definitely no pushovers. And you can scale this up to millions, and I'm gonna show you how you can scale it faster in a couple of seconds. Now the problem is, once you've scaled that damage up really fast, then enemies are gonna just die from you standing close to them. You walk up to them and they die, and you don't really have time to do anything before they die. But the problem is, you have to walk up to them and you have to hit them with your melee weapon to build combo. This is a bit of a problem, so it can be hard to build combo with Gara, because enemies die before you even get close enough to hit them. And this is where the sword and shield combo comes in. This is where the Ack and Brunt comes in, because the Ack and Brunt, you can put in a mod called Guardian Derision. It taunts enemies, make them shoot you, and it gives you more combo count while blocking. So, combo count while blocking simply means that if you have your melee weapon out, enemies shoot at you, like so. You can see in the bottom right that I am in fact building combo. And this is kind of what you want with Gara, because now you don't even have to be concerned about hitting enemies. You can just let them shoot at you, you have your shield out, and there, now you're at 12 combo. So now that I am at 12 combo, check this out. Now I cast the glass wall. Now I destroy the glass wall. Boom, immediately up to 60,000 damage. So that's 3 times as fast that I am scaling up my damage as Gara. We'll do it once more. Now we're up to 120 damage. And now, as you can see, now enemies actually die just from me standing close to them. This is how you play Gara on super high level content. And this is why one of the INCARNON boosts is super relevant, super good here, and that is the second evolution here. On shield break, this is when you deplete your own shields. When enemies shoot you so that you deplete your own shields, you get increased combo count chance while blocking. And that is super, super, super duper relevant here. So what that looks like in practice is I'm gonna spawn in the enemies. I'm gonna give myself 90% damage reduction, I'm gonna run up, and then I'm gonna turn my back so that they can shoot me in the back. And boom! Now I have combo count while blocking. Look at that. And there, 12 combo. That's how long it took for me to max out my combo. Now I can start to scale my damage with my combination of my number 2, my number 1, and my number 4. Slam these down. It used to be that you had to jump outside of this glass wall and break it from the outside to get the bonus. That is not the case anymore. You can do it from the inside like this. And now it took me not that long to be up to like 300,000 damage on this thing. And now if we go close to the enemies, they die. Everything dies just from me standing close to them. I was already of the opinion that the Ack and Brunt was arguably better than the Jaw Sword. With this increase in the INCARNON form, specifically with this second evolution, it is now absolutely the best stat stick that you can get for Gara. You know, if you have a good Riven mod for it, but that was the case for the Jaw Sword as well. So there is that. If you are a Gara main, then yes, you should pick the INCARNON ACK and BRUNT as this week's INCARNON weapon. If you are not a Gara main, then the INCARNON ACK and BRUNT is completely skippable. There are better INCARNON weapons out there. Save it for the next rotation when it comes back 6 weeks from now. Pick something more relevant, pick something more fun. But it's not useless. It has its use for one specific Warframe, where it's basically the best weapon that you can possibly get in the melee slot. So yeah, that's the PSA, people. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoy the content, it helps the channel. Consider subscribing if you think this was informative and helpful. And I will see you again tomorrow for something completely different.